I would now like to turn the conference back over to Dave Lockett. Please go ahead, Dave.
Yes, thank you everyone for your patience, and welcome back to the second half of today's UFC 228 conference call. Now with us today are the main event fighters for next Saturday's fight, UFC welterweight champion Tyron Woodley and number 2 contender Darren Till. I'll now turn it back over to the conference center to start the questions.
Certainly. And again, everyone, that's star 1 if you would like to signal for a question, star 1 for any questions. Our first call will come from Keith Schillen with takeover.com. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much for having me again. My first question is for Darren. Darren, last month you got in a little hot heat when you said that you didn't care about your pregnant wife and your child. Obviously, we all know that was taken out of context. You were misinterpreted. Unfortunately, a lot of fans have turned against you because of that. Do you have anything to say to those fans to kind of try to bring them back?
I mean, I just said what I was feeling in the moment. We from Liverpool, we speak a bit different. I speak with a lot of meaning, and it's just not how it is right now. It's just the only focus is fighting on September 8th. Maybe it did come out wrong, but I'm not apologising or trying to win back any fans. It's just the way it is. Every fighter and people who've been through it know what I meant. My girlfriend, she follows me around 24 hours a day. I see my daughter on the night on FaceTime, so I know what I meant, and people close to me know what I meant. So that's all that matters, really, to be honest.
Dan, a big storyline in this fight is your last fight. You missed weight by 4 pounds. You knew you were going to be asked about it. There was a video came out of you cutting weight. It looked terrible. What changes have you made to make sure that you make weight this time and that you don't kill your body like you did in the last fight?
Just drop me weight earlier. Usually, I'm so experienced. I've cut weight, a bunch of times, and I know how to make weight, and I do leave a lot of weight to cut for the week of the fight. So this time I've got my weight lower. So going into fight week, it's not going to be much of a struggle. That's the plan, and we're still on target. We're still on plan. I don't know how many days we're out, but 9 days or something. Everything seems to be going good. My weight is light, so I'm a happy person about my weight.
Tyron was asked this week. He mentioned that if you miss weight, he would not take a fight with Kamaru Usman. Say something happens with Tyron, would you take a fight with him on short notice?
Yeah, I'd take a fight against anybody in any weight division if the UFC offers it. So I said in an interview, I understand why Tyron wouldn't take the fight. As I've said, I feel his best attribute is that he's an intelligent champion. He's not a stupid champion. But, I would accept a fight against anyone, not only Usman, but any fighter they're willing to fight. So, it's just different mindsets. Looking at it, it's just the way it is.
Thank you, Darren. Over the champ, it's been a while since we've seen you in the cage. Welcome back. My first question to you is, in your fights, Tyron, one thing that really stands out is how strong you are, how powerful you punch, how strong your wrestling is. But this is the first time I believe that you were a much smaller fighter in the match. What do you have to do to overcome the size advantage of Darren?
I'm always a shorter fighter. I don't think I'm much smaller than Darren. I think he's a big welterweight, but I fought many guys that were former middleweights. Guys that were supposed to be at welterweight showed up at middleweight. So I think I'm accustomed to fighting guys that are a little bit heavier than me, and definitely guys that are taller than me. I mean, I can only count on one hand the amount of guys I fought that were under 6 foot tall, just given the weight division. So that's not really, the largest part of my game plan to try to dictate what am I going to do about something I can't control. He's taller. So many other fighters I fought.
Okay, and my final question for you, Tyron. Obviously, right now, everything we keep seeing on MMA is super fights. You're got a long title defense run. If you beat Darren, you'd have another one. There was talks before when Michael Bisping was a champ about you moving up to middleweight. Is that still in your view? Do you still want to go up to middleweight and try to conquer that?
You know, you just said my opponent was bigger than me, so I got a super fight coming up September 8th. And I think focusing on that and giving your opponent the proper respect is the only way that you can open up any of the doors. You start thinking too far down the road, and then it'll be somebody else wanting to go. So my focus right now is just fighting Darren Till, going out there putting on a great performance. A fighter that's worthy, of my attention, bringing, true skills to the table. So I think that should be my focus, and we'll talk about any other type of fights after this fight's over with.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Well, I wish you both luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll move next to Jeffrey Harris with 411 Mania MMA. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. So, question for Darren Till. On a scale of 1 to 10, how sick are you of answering questions about your weight and the weight cut going into this fight?
It is what it is, mate. You make a mistake in your job. This is my job, and I made a mistake. I didn't make the weight. There's nobody to blame him. Every question everyone wants to start with, or is sort of comments I've made or weight I haven't made. No one wants to start with the good things. So that's just how the world seems to be nowadays. You just want to talk about the negativity and the adversity, and that's fine by me. You know what I mean? As I've said, when adversity is good or bad, you just have to face it head on. So I'm sick of it, but I just can't wait to make way Friday and stick some things up to some people. A lot of people who are doubting that I'm going to make weight. A lot of people aren't even thinking about the fight. They just make weight. It's like I'm the only fighter who's never made weight in the UFC. So I just can't wait to make weight.
For the champ, Tyron Woodley, before this fight, a fight was booked for an interim welterweight title between Colby Covington and Rafael dos Anjos, a fight you called for the Boo Boo belt. Do you think this fight getting made pretty much validates everything of what you said about what you called the Boo Boo title?
I personally prefer, to kind of focus on me and Darren Till, because obviously we fight September 8th. I think this fight is a great style matchup. I think it's two great strikers that are going to face each other. I think this is a fight that fans want to see. That fight was something that was put together. I wasn't involved with it, and for whatever reason, the UFC wanted to put it together, and I'm pretty sure they have their reasons why. I just felt like the contendership of the welterweight division wasn't clear. So now this is the opponent that I'm facing. Excited to fight Darren Till, go out there and put on a great performance, come away with my belt.
Now, Tyron, another thing, I noticed a lot of people are talking about Darren Till's size going into this fight. But, I've noticed throughout your career, you tend to do very well against strikers and kickboxers. So I think on many levels, this matchup style, I think, favors you. And I can't think of many fighters like you that Darren has faced throughout his career. Would you agree with that?
I think he faced a few seasoned veterans, and obviously Stephen Thompson is the number one contender. I do think just because of my time in the sport and I got a jump start, I have faced more guys that are similar to him, than he has me. Obviously, every striker is different. Every striker brings different skill set. Every fighter, depending on where they're in their career, have different levels of hunger and how much they want it. I think he obviously wants it. I think he believes he can beat me, and that's enough right there, just for me to be motivated on a whole different level to come out there and put on a convincing performance and get him out of there. So it's not my first time fighting the striker. It's not my first time fighting somebody bigger than me. It's not my first time fighting a young talented fighter that's undefeated. But one thing I've always done is I've always did my homework, and I've always respected my opponent. I've always did the proper prep for him, and that's what I thrive in. That's why I feel like I've done the best. And at this point, I'm in a really great spot. I feel like I've done everything I need to do. I'm excited about it, and we're ready to get it on.
And for Darren, what do you think is the key way to fight Tyron Woodley and make this the fight that you want it to be? And that's my last question. Thank you.
I just think pressure, but like a different type of pressure. Guys think that the pressure Tyron, like and they're not worried. They try to give him pressure, but they're not worried about what he's going to get back because he's counter. He's got powerful hands, but he knows how to counter. So when you're throwing them punches, he's waiting for the counter. So it's it's about getting in and out, making it that type of fight. And it is what it is. That's what it's about. It's about me imposing my will on Tyron, and Tyron imposing his will on me. But I just feel like a different type of pressure, because if you give him the type of pressure that a lot of these other strikers have, they lunge in. You know what I mean, and that's where he gets them at the big counter. So that's what I've seen anyway.
Thank you, gentlemen, and good luck to both of you.
Thanks.
Thank you. We'll move now to Damon Martin with flowcombat.com. Please go ahead.
Hey guys, first question for Tyron Woodley. Tyron, in the past you've said, training for Wonder Boy and training for a guy like Damian Maia is harder because they're specialists. They're very odd, kind of unique fighters. Obviously Darren Till is an amazing fighter, but was it easier to train for Darren Till than it was for maybe those fighters because he's not as, quote unquote specialized?
I would say it's easier. Sometimes, us fighters, we get trapped into loving hitting the mitts, and we love to spar, and we love to do those things. And with Damian Maia and Wonder Boy, it forced me in a position where I had to really, really get into the skill set. I had to really learn what they were doing, why they were doing it, and then I had to spar. So I didn't get as much time. This fight, obviously, I'm fighting a guy that has been known to spar a lot, and he fights that way, and it's a very similar training camp that I had when I was first coming up. So it was kind of actually fun and refreshing because I enjoy sparring, to get back in there and get some heavy rounds in there. And it was a different type of training camp where I can actually use more tools and I can actually put myself in different situations that in the past camps it was heavily defensive to jiu-jitsu positions or takedowns or looking for openings, that I had to be a lot more patient. When you're fighting against two guys that are known to be strikers, I think that's going to make the fight a different pace fight.
And Tyron, you've defended your title multiple times now, and I'm sure you've seen the statistics that are out there that, I think the longest reigning champions in the UFC, it's pretty short-lived after Demetrius, lost his belt. It's not easy to hold on to a UFC title. How important is it for you to continue to defend this title and kind of add that part to your legacy? Because I think we've seen even getting to 2 or 3 title defenses is not easy at this level anymore.
Because everybody's well-rounded now. Back in the day, it used to be the wrestler versus the striker, striker versus the grappler, and vice versa. But now we're in a position where you got guys that are great strikers that can defend shots. You got great wrestlers that can throw powerful heads. And also, it's a lot more access to watching film on people. Back in the day, you guy was 10-0, you didn't have no film on him. You saw him when you get in the octagon. So now it's the ability to prepare a little bit smarter. The training techniques are a little bit differently. So with so many different styles, so many different assets and skill sets that are brought to the table, you match Till up with Usman, it might be a different story. You match me up with Wonder Boy, we can see completely different fights just because of the attributes and the skill set. So that's why it's so difficult. I try not to focus on a title run and how many defenses and breaking records. I try to focus on each fight. This is my super fight. This is the biggest fight of my career. I'm in great shape. I had a great training camp. I feel like all the pieces to the pie that we've addressed those issues that we've seen in film, and that's my goal, to go out there and have a great performance. Great performance. If I can focus on that, before you know it, maybe I will rack up, enough title defenses to put me up there.
Yeah. And Tyron, I know everyone has heard you say that, if there is an unfortunate incident fight week, you're not fighting anybody but Darren Till. You can't speak for other fighters, so I don't want to ask you to do that. But is there a certain level of, in your head thinking it's kind of unfair to ask anybody to fight a new opponent on 24 hours notice? Isn't that a little crazy at this level of the game to ask a champion or anybody else to fight somebody new on 24 hours notice? Do you feel like that's a bit of an unfair ask no matter who it is?
If it was basketball and we had the NBA Finals, you'd say, oh, you know what? Golden State Warriors can't make it today. We're going to throw Cleveland in there. They might be able to do it, but they're not punching each other in the face, and it's not a 6'3" striker versus a 5'10", 5'11" wrestler. That's what you're saying. So I think the mindset, the money, the time, the preparation that goes into preparing for a fighter. I mean, I'm pretty sure Darren Till don't want to prepare to fight me, and then all of a sudden, 2 seconds later, say, okay, you fighting this guy. So some people want us to be just fighters, and it's not just fighting anymore. This is a business, it's entertainment. I'll fight anybody, anytime. If it came down to life or death, I think we all would. I think if I came in, I'd grab your kid's freaking backpack and try to freaking throw him into a car, I think you're going to be willing to fight too, damn it. So I think we don't have to use that same mindset in our sport. We want to be professional. We want to be taken serious. I can't control what's going on. I'm not playing too much into the fact on if he missed weight, if he doesn't make weight, because at the end of the day, that's his responsibility. He's the one who is a fighter, and he has to, do what he has to do for his career. I'm focusing on myself. I'm focusing not so much on making a weight, but I'm focusing on being prepared, and that's where my focus is at. I'm not paying any mind to the Usman conversation. I'm really not paying mind to if he misses or makes weight, because this is a big opportunity, and I would assume that he would want to try to seize the moment and come in at championship weight.
Awesome. Thanks, Tyron. A couple of questions for Darren Till. Darren, you've fought a lot of guys in the UFC, and you've got a lot of experience. And I know this is a mixed martial arts fight. It's not a wrestling match. But Tyron does have, an incredible wrestling background. How confident are you in your wrestling, or should I say your wrestling defense, considering, in your record, you haven't really fought a high-level wrestler, especially at Tyron's level before?
I'm confident. I'm a good wrestler. I don't give myself enough credit for how good of a wrestler I am, like defensively and offensively. Before I got in the UFC, I actually fought some good wrestlers. I fought a guy in Argentina. He'd been to the Olympics, Greco wrestling and that. And another fight is wrestling okay. So I'm extremely confident. We all have got holes in our game. People ask me, some fighters, they say, I just know I'm going to win because my all-round game is better. It doesn't work like that. Coming into a fight, certain fighter has his strengths and has his weaknesses. Tyron has his strengths over me, and I have my strengths over him. And that's how the fight's going to play out, to strengths and to weaknesses. But I'm extremely confident with my wrestling, offensively and defensively.
And Darren, you said after the fight over Wonder Boy, you were completely okay if it took you a couple more fights to get to a title shot, but then this kind of came up rather quickly. How familiar were you with Tyron at that point? Like, had you already kind of thought about breaking him down in your head, even when you weren't getting the title fight, or did you just focus on him for the first time, 6 weeks ago, let's say, when they offered you the fight?
No, I focus on every single person in that welterweight division, from top 30 to the number one, to the champion. I've got sights on all of them. So when I was coming up, I knew who Tyron was. I knew who they all were. I know who every single fighter who fights on that welterweight roster is, and middleweight. It's my business to know who they are. It's my business to know what they do, how they fight. That's my job. That is my day-to-day job. So I know exactly who they all are, and especially Tyron, because he's fought a lot longer than me. I was younger when he was fighting in Strikeforce and shit like that, so I know exactly who he is. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and I know who they all are now. It's my job to know.
Awesome. Thanks, Darren. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question will come from Sergio Gomez with Diario MMA. Please go ahead.
The first question is for Tyron Woodley. I'm just going to ask you straight up. Do you feel that the UFC wants Darren Till to beat you?
I feel Darren Till wants to beat me. That's all I need to have in the back of my mind. So, at the end of the day, I can't go and try to guess what's in the minds of everybody that's pulling the strings and everybody that's putting fights together. All I can have what's in my mind. My mind is to be the greatest welterweight of all time. Sometimes it calls for you to fight the young, hungry fighter that's coming to try to take him ashore. So that's all I'm really focused on. I really don't have an answer for that question. I think my opponent is very confident in his abilities, and he, honestly and truly, sometimes people get in your face and they say a lot of stuff. As we said, we've seen Kobe Covington talk a lot of stuff, and what happened when he got the opportunity? He bitched out and somebody else fucked up. So that alone right there is enough motivation for me.
All right. Do you think that a win over Till will finally get you the respect that you deserve as a defending champion that has been doing constantly and that has defended the belt many times in a short amount of time?
I'm not concerned. I just know I have to get the win. So the win over Till to me is a victory. It's a victory over a tough opponent, a victory over a complex puzzle, a Rubik's Cube to put together, and that's all it really is. I can't control what people actually think and their perception of you. I can't control that. I've been the greatest prospect in the sport. I've been the greatest athlete in the sport. I've been the boring fighter. I've been the knockout artist. I've been so many different things, but I'm really still the same person. So I can't tell the fans what type of mood to be in that day and what they want to call me. So I'm just going to go out there, do my thing, put on the good show, get the win, and continue my legacy.
All right, man. Thank you. And for Darren, you've been on the spotlight a lot more now preparing for this fight. You just had a media event with in the UFC Performance Institute. Do you feel more pressure now that more eyes are on you?
No, I don't even think about pressure. If I had to deal with pressure, if I had to deal with all that stuff, I shouldn't really be fighting, in my opinion. So to me, 10 million eyes, 10,000 eyes, it doesn't matter. It's still the same fight in my head. So if a guy, it's normal to feel scared, to feel nervous, to get butterflies before a fight. That is normal emotions from a human being. But if you start letting the types of pressure, because there's more people watching, because there's more cameras, because there's more people who want a piece from you, that this is our job. This is our job to fight. So pressure doesn't come into it. If you can't deal with the pressure, fuck fighting off. Go and do something else.
All right. Thank you to both. Good luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question will come from Ryan Sprague with MyMMANews.com. Please go ahead.
Thank you, guys. Both of you were mentioning how this fight was kind of focusing more on negative aspects. So let's kind of try and see if we can turn the page on this. I'll start with you, Darren. You mentioned how everybody was saying
thank God for that.
I'm sorry?
I said thank God for that.
Yeah, you mentioned how everybody says that, people took your words out of context. And, so let's try and set the record straight here. Direct question, direct answer. Darren, regardless of the outcome of this fight, do you plan on taking some time off and spending it, with your kids and with your girl and just kind of enjoying the moment after the fight?
Yeah, that's what I do every fight. I like to come back to my hotel room after my fight and I don't like to go out partying. I don't like to do anything. I just like to just sit there and just reflect on the weeks that I've had. That it's fucking hard training, mate, and just reflect on the fight and everything in my life, what I'm doing, and then I go back home, see my friends. When I'm in camp, I don't see no one. I'm not out with friends. I'm not going out to see my family. I'm locked away. I only think about the fight. That's the only thing that matters to me. Then after the fight, everyone gets a piece of that until again. I go and see my mum every weekend. My daughter, she's obviously lives in a different country, and I'm going to see her after this fight. And that's the life of a fighter after the fight. But right now, it's a fucking fight. Few people on this earth can do what we do. So I need to focus on the fight. I don't care about anything else.
Thank you very much, Darren. And finally for Tyron. Tyron, you've been defending your belts and, you've had some time off. Obviously, you've had a lot of fighters who were kind of thrown your way and, you got the fight with Darren Till. Regardless of the outcome here, it's a quick flight from St. Louis to Dallas. Do you plan on spending a few days in Dallas or do you plan on going back up and celebrating with your friends and family in St. Louis?
A lot of my friends and family are coming to Dallas, so I'll be able to celebrate with them a little bit there. But my kids normally don't make it to the fight, so I'll be back in St. Louis probably the next day or so to spend time with them.
And finally, you've been wanting to get a fight back in St. Louis for some time. Is that something that you're going to ask Dana and ask Sean Shelby? Is your next fight be in your hometown of St. Louis?
You know, that's up to the UFC. You know, I think if they come to St. Louis, it would make sense to put me on the card. You know, it's a lot of St. Louis talent. You know, you got Michael Johnson, got me. You know, even though Robbie Lawler was not from St. Louis, he had a big following there, Matt Hughes. So it got a rich tradition in combat sports. But to be honest, I really don't mind where I fight at. I enjoy fighting in Vegas. It's like my second home when it comes down to fighting. Sometimes it's a blessing in disguise to get away from home. Everybody wants tickets and everybody want to, you know, your attention and it's all these demands and, you know, my kid's going to be there, so I'm going to be ripping and running and driving. So sometimes it's better and I can focus more on fight when I'm fighting outside of St. Louis. So I haven't fought in St. Louis since 2009. And if the UFC put another fight on there and they wanted me there, obviously I would go out there and put on for my city, but outside of that, it's not like something I'm just beating their door down for.
Outstanding. Best of luck to you, gentlemen. Thank you.
That will conclude today's question and answer session. I'll now turn the conference back over to Dave Lockett. Please go